Welcome. It's so lovely to have you here at Timeless Textiles.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to introduce Susan Doherty, who's a very fine artist, as you're about to hear. And it's wonderful to have your show here. So tell us a bit about this glorious show that you've got up.
Right, so tribes have been a continuum in my making for a long time. I've got at least maybe half a dozen different tribes, and then most of those have gone, but some of these have been made a while ago, and then I've added them on. So I've just been continuing to make tribes for a good while now, and I'm not quite sure why I make tribes, but I just have an endless curiosity about human beings, I guess, and I like the tribes. I like making many that will hold together and look cohesive in a body of work, held together. And and I guess I find things. I'm an assemblage artist primarily, but usually use textiles as most of my making. But when I find things, I often think, now, that speaks to me, how will I make that into, oh yes, I can see her now, she's going to be a this or a that. And that's why I do tribes.
And Susan, next to you is this beautiful piece here to spin you around.
Yes, Mr. Tall Man. Yes, I think he's got character. He's got attitude and character. And so I had this piece for a very long time. It came out of a lab, and I was playing around. First of all, I started playing around with, forgotten its word, like Fimo, the stuff you cook in the oven. Years ago I used to play with lots of clay, and I would prefer to do with clay, but anyway, I think I did him in the oven and cooked them and then went on. So this is a big vertebra. I'd say this came out of a big cow. And I don't know, I just keep moving and moving and moving until I think he's got his own persona and own attitude in life. And so yes, these are all different things. Like that's a coconut button. I'm not quite sure where they've all come from now. This is wool off a sheep. These are burnie beans. This is something else I probably found more west. I can't quite recognise that pod of that. And that's a bit of driftwood. And I've painted this vertebra. And then it's all held together with knots and wire. Probably my favourite instruments are my needles, and then secondary would be my little Dremel drill. And everything gets drilled and then sewn, so that's how I usually construct things. I hold them together with fabric. There's so much fabric in the world. We all seem to dispose of masses of it. It gets, into landfill extraordinarily. And this was a jumper, I think, Sandy Beach gave me, and they were the arms that I made into dacks, and I love the way they're kind of a little bit, looking like a dag. About them. So this is Disinhibited, and I think she's absolutely glorious. I think she's got such a strong character. I kind of did her face to look as ugly as possible, and she was kind of part of the family of the uglies, and then it just went from there. So I think this is mainly all human hair, and it's probably got a little bit of dog hair in it. This was a brooch, I think, that went wrong, and this was probably a kangaroo rib. These were some glasses of this old woman that I knew that lived in New Guinea. Hasn't got any glass in it. This is from the Hmong people up in the highlands that used to move around on Indochina. And this is an old drum from the Pacific Islands from somewhere or another. It was lovely, it's damaged, but I bought it at an op shop and thought, oh, look at that, that could be a base. Eucalypt nut and something off the beach. And so I think, she's extraordinarily wonky, and I think she's really cute. I really like her. Justice of Courage, I made her a little bit beforehand. This was another piece that came out of a science lab, and the beacon used to sit down there. Anyway, I thought, oh yeah, that's great. So these cowrie shells came from an op shop, I think. They would have probably come from New Guinea, and they're drilled down, and they would have been somebody's lovely serviette holders. And so I haven't really done anything to that. That was a doll's face as is, but I've just put lots of paint on it. And I think that's wool on the top, and that's a brooch that went wrong that got stuck on a head. And then this is a piece off the beach that I've burnt into. I like burning into wood. And she looks like she's, you know, doing a statement of judgment on folk, I think anyway. So that's those two. I quite like them together. I didn't make them exactly the same time, but probably not that time distance apart. They were probably made fairly in the same era. Yeah.
So when the gallery's closed at night time, what would these two be saying to each other?
How the hell did they get down here in Newcastle?
Because you're from Cairns, you've got in Cairns.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so they've had a bit of a journey. They're probably a bit bewildered that they're in this beautiful room and sitting up here on the fireplace. Isn't it a lovely fireplace? And yeah, I think they're just kind of like looking in awe at everything that's around them. The Luckless Singer, she was once a doll, and then I've used the air drying clay and made a beak of hers. I really love the different beaks of birds. I've always been a bird watcher since young adult, and then one arm. I kind of like one arm. That probably was over here, but I've changed it over and painted that. And then the body would have been puffed up with lots of fabric, and then wrapped. I love wrapping, and then I did this. This was crocheted. This was some wool that somebody gave me that was, I think it's felting wool, but I crocheted it up into this thing that didn't look like quite right, so it's made into a skirt. And then her head, I've asked hairdressers over the years to collect hair for me, so that looks like somebody's human hair that would have been dyed. This is a black sheep. That's a button that I would have sewn on. These are, I'm not quite sure what these things are. They're out of the ocean. Someone gave me some once. And there's a bit of dolly hair at the back. And then this piece here, I've got a friend who's a taxidermist, and she sent me a little bag of tiny little offcuts of animals. And so this is, I'm not quite sure what it is. It might be, I'm not sure. And so I really like using the old dolls because their eyes are fantastic. And so that's why I buy them, and also their heads are that hard plastic, so you can put air drying clay onto them and it won't crack because the plastic underneath is nice and hard, and so it will have that longevity. I have made them with softer ones and they've always cracked, and I thought, oh, not doing that anymore. So yes, the Luckless Singer, she's got a bit of attitude, and I probably should have had her with the mouth open, but then it would have been more likely that she would have broken. So I have to think about longevity of not being broken. And that's her.
So when you started her, did you know what she was going to look like at the end, or did she just keep evolving and getting her own personality?
No, I don't really know what they're going to look like in the end. I kind of look around and think, now how am I going to construct her? And then I just keep going and going and going until I'm happy with her, and pull things out and think, will this work? No, it won't. I'll put that back and try something else. And I've got masses of mess. But sometimes it's good to work with a less on your palette and just use with what you've got. But yeah, which I've probably done the last few years because I haven't had a lot around because most of my stuff is in the shed because I'm in between houses. But yes, the Luckless Singer. No, I think I probably just kept working her, and then thought, okay, that'll do. This is her underneath. That would have what I would have started on the base and tied this piece on, and that's a plunger out of a coffee plunger, and she's just stay there. Yes, there we are. That's her.
So what inspires you? What keeps you fresh?
What inspires me? Lots of things inspire me. I've got so many ideas in my head I can't keep up with them, but I don't know, I'm just driven to make. I'm always got something on the go, and if I haven't done anything creative for a little while, I get a yearning to do it. So I'm not quite sure what inspires me, because it hasn't halted over quite a few years now. I've had this thing of, like making. I'm quite productive. I've always got things on the go, and I'm always churning things out and trying something new, and I think, okay, that's finished now, I don't need to do that, move on to that. Sometimes when I find pieces, I think, oh yeah, that speaks to me, and I might have that sitting there for quite a while until I think, that's it, that's what I'm going to do with that. So often there's a connection with some found piece, but I don't know quite what I'm going to do with it. I do lots of other making and doing other things, but the tribe always seems to come back to me, and I've done tribes for probably 25 years or something now. I keep doing a whole series of tribes, and then I do another series of tribes, and then I do another series of tribes. Yeah.
Do you think of particular people as you're making?
Not necessarily, but I think there's something subliminal about watching people for many years, because I have, and because I live in the north, I love that freedom about the demographics across the equator. They're quite different to people in the south, and they're colourful, and they have a freedom, I suppose, because we don't wear many clothes. And I also, I've worked in health for a long time, so I have an interesting demographic of people that come in, and I'm always thinking oh gosh, look how that man's made, or that woman's made, or look at the lovely looseness of how they handle their children, or whatever it is. So no, I don't have a vision of how they're going to end, but I keep going until they have their own little personalities and attitudes, and
Do you miss them when they go to someone else's house? So if you go and visit a friend and there is one of them, is it like connecting with a friend, or you're not that attached to them?
Oh no, I like it when I go to somebody's house and I think, oh wow, I'd forgotten I made her. Or I went to someone's house the other day and they were renovating and it was a total mess. And as we were walking along, there was one of my pieces in this big bowl with a whole lot of other things, and I went, oh, Margaret, is that mine? And I pulled it out and I went, oh gosh, isn't she great? And I put it back and I'd forgotten. So no, I don't miss them. Sometimes when I make them, I like to live with them for a little while before they go somewhere else. But usually, no, I'm happy for them to go to another family. Yeah.
Will you stay with tribes, do you think, in the next 5-10 years, or are you going to branch out?
I can't answer that, to be quite honest. I'll probably stay with them for a while. I mean, I just found a doll yesterday and I thought, oh, she'll be great, I'll use her head.
Was that in my house, was it? My childhood doll. Thanks for that.
No, in no shop, she said we do. She's kind of a bit of a branch away, because I found this in the old cow yard, and I thought, oh, that would be a great pelvis, and it's so, I mean, it's mine, but you could probably find something as wacky as that in a different way in New Guinea. I love all that Pacific Island art. I really think it's fantastic, even though that's I don't know what that is, an industrial brush or something or other, and that's a bobbin, and these would have been probably a wallaby ribs, and this came off the ocean. So, I don't know, I'll probably stay with tribes for a while, see where they go. They're still evolving, and I might do some different animals, but I do love birds. I love that kind of weirdness of having a beak on a tribe.
Well, I'm delighted to have your tribe as part of the Timeless Textiles Gallery. So thank you so very much.
Thank you so very much.
Great contribution to the world. I love your work. So thank you.
Thank you. It's been fantastic. I've loved the experience. Yeah.